3:14 a.m. You are sitting in an apartment cluttered with empty coffee cups and takeout boxes, eyes bloodshot, staring intently at the code scrolling across your screen. You are a senior analyst for a contractor providing third-party security audits for the Department of Energy. The job is usually mind-numbingly boring, mostly checking outdated firewall logs or patching vulnerabilities for substation operators who are too lazy to change their passwords. But tonight is different. In the supervisory control and data acquisition system of a remote Midwestern substation, you catch a microscopic anomalous fluctuation. It is a mere 0.002-second delay. The system writes it off as hardware aging. Most analysts would just ignore it and click Clear Alert. But you do not. Your intuition tells you that this rhythmic, breathing-like delay is absolutely not a hardware failure. You begin to reverse trace the data packet. You bypass 2 proxy layers and dive into the substation deep logic controllers. Then, your blood runs cold. It is not a simple Trojan, but an incredibly elegant, highly destructive dormant code. Disguised as a routine system update protocol, it has deeply embedded itself into the core firmware controlling the relays. You hold your breath and widen the scan radius. Ohio, Texas, New York, the backbone nodes of the entire national power grid all bear the traces of this dormant code. Someone has completely infiltrated the national grid. Now, all they have to do is press a single button, and this country will instantly be sent back to the Middle Ages. You immediately grab your phone, preparing to dial the Department of Homeland Security emergency hotline. The very second your finger is about to press the dial button, your apartment door is pushed open without a sound. No deafening crash of a breached door, no roaring police officers. 4 men in dark suits glide into your room like ghosts, 2 of them resting their hands inside their jackets. The lead man walks up to your desk and pins your wrist down directly. His grip is astonishingly strong. Do not touch that keyboard. The man's voice is low and icy, carrying an unquestionable tone of command. You freeze in place, your heart hammering against your ribcage. "We know what you found," the man says, looking at the string of lethal code on your screen. "But if you try to quarantine it now, or sound an alarm, the trigger will activate immediately. It is a dead-hand system." The moment they realize they are exposed, the grid across 12 northeastern states will completely collapse within 3 seconds, followed by a chain reaction. Ventilators shut off, transportation systems crash, financial data zeroes out. You almost just killed millions of people. A drop of cold sweat rolls down your forehead. You realize these men are not here to arrest you. They are here looking for a lifeline. We have been tracking this ghost for over half a year and have not even caught its shadow. And you, a Tier 2 outsourced analyst, actually caught it by the tail during a routine check. The man releases your wrist, pulls an encrypted black flash drive from his pocket, and tosses it onto your keyboard. You have 2 choices right now. First, we take you away and lock you in a black site no one knows about, because you saw something you should not have. Second, you take the next 30 seconds to build a mirrored sandbox without tripping the alarm, seamlessly guide the code into it, and let us take back control. You do not hesitate. You practically lunge at the keyboard, your fingers turning into blurs across the keys. You are not writing code. You are defusing a nuclear bomb capable of destroying the nation. You construct a virtual relay response environment, trick the malicious code into believing it is still connected to real physical hardware, and then silently sever its actual physical connection to the master server. The red warning indicator on the screen blinks twice before settling into a steady green. You collapse back into your chair, gasping heavily. The man looks at the screen and gives a slight nod. Good work. As of this moment, you are no longer an outsourced analyst. You have 10 minutes to pack your personal belongings. You will never return here. That morning, you vanish from the face of the earth. 3 years later, you are now sitting in a top-tier ergonomic leather chair. Your surroundings are no longer a dilapidated apartment, but a nuclear-proof bunker 200 feet underground. The air here is triple filtered, carrying a cold, metallic scent. In front of you is a massive, 30-meter-long curved holographic screen. Tens of millions of pulsing light dots flicker across the screen, weaving into a colossally massive, glowing spiderweb. That is the lifeblood of the entire nation power. 14,000 power plants, 300,000 miles of transmission lines, countless substations, transformers, and distribution grids. You are now the supreme technical commander of the National Infrastructure Defense Command. Over the past 3 years, you have possessed an unlimited budget and the highest level of security clearance. Not only did you eradicate that dormant malware from back then, but you also refactored the entire grid underlying defense logic. You developed a central artificial intelligence nervous system named the Watchman. In theory, the national grid is decentrally managed by hundreds of private power companies and local agencies. But in reality, deep within the bottom-most layers of code, you left a skeleton key for yourself. You possess absolute override authority and supreme control over any power node in the country. You control the heartbeat of this nation. It is an intoxicating, yet terrifying power. You only need to type a few commands on your keyboard to plunge Las Vegas into dead silence, or instantly cut power to Wall Street trading servers. You hold the power of life and death more tangibly than the president of this country. But power always comes with a suffocating price. It is now August, and the East Coast is enduring a once-in-a-century extreme heat wave. Temperatures have exceeded 105 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 consecutive days. On your screen, the area representing the grid load for New York and New Jersey has turned a blinding, deep red. Sir, the frequency of the PJM interconnection grid is dropping. Your deputy, a seasoned former military communications officer, reports from behind you, his voice tight, with suppressed tension. It is down to 59.94 Hertz. All backup generators are online, but the load is still spiking. Air conditioning usage has exceeded every predictive model. You stare dead at the frequency data on the screen. The modern alternating current grid is an incredibly fragile balancing act. It must be precisely maintained at 60 Hertz. If demand exceeds supply, the frequency drops. Once the frequency falls below 59.5 Hertz, the laws of physics take over. Generator turbines will begin tearing themselves apart due to resonance. Transformers will overload and explode, and the entire grid will automatically trigger physical circuit breakers. That would mean a catastrophic cascading blackout. Tens of millions of people will lose power in this sweltering heat. No air conditioning, no water pumps, no hospital backup power. Why has the automatic load shedding system not engaged? You ask coldly. The local power company's systems crashed. Their servers went down due to overheating. We are the only ones who can see the big picture now, and the only ones who can intervene. You take a deep breath. If the automatic systems fail, you must intervene manually. You have to actively cut power to a segment of the population, a so-called rolling blackout, to save the entire system from collapse. You pull up the detailed map of the high-risk zones. You must immediately shed at least 800 megawatts of load. The system provides you with 2 target options. Option A, cut District 7. It is a dense, low-income urban residential area housing over 500,000 people. In this heat, without air conditioning, many elderly and vulnerable individuals might not survive the night. Option B, cut District 12. It is a massive high-tech industrial park containing several of the world's largest semiconductor fabrication plants and cloud computing data centers. If power is suddenly cut, the expensive wafers currently undergoing lithography on the production lines will be entirely ruined, and data center servers could suffer irreversible hardware damage. Direct economic losses will be calculated in the tens of billions of dollars. More fatally, the chief executive officers of those giant corporations are the current administration's largest political donors. The secure red phone on your desk rings. It is the direct line to the White House Chief of Staff. You do not need to answer to know what he is going to say. A blackout in the industrial park would trigger a financial market earthquake, which is unacceptable in an election year. The ringing echoes through the cavernous command center like a death knell. Sir, frequency is 59.91 Hertz. We have 60 seconds to make a decision, or the backbone grid collapses, sweat beads on your deputy forehead. You look at the screen. You no longer see data. You see living human lives and cold hard cash. Sitting in this underground bunker, a single finger of yours will decide who struggles in the sweltering heat and whose wealth goes down the drain. At this altitude, moral boundaries become hopelessly blurred. You cannot have it both ways. You can only choose the lesser harm. But how do you define lesser? You close your eyes, your finger hovering over the keyboard. Sir, Execute protocol. Cut option B. District 12 Industrial Park. You snap your eyes open and strike the Enter key. On the screen, the block of light representing the industrial park extinguishes instantly, turning black. Simultaneously, the entire grid frequency chart shudders violently, then slowly climbs back up, stabilizing at 59.98 Hz. You save the grid, and you save those residents. The red phone is still ringing. You reach out and pick it up. Do you have any idea what you just did? The furious roar of the chief of staff erupts from the receiver. You just vaporized fractions of a % of this country's gross domestic product. You better have a perfect explanation, or you are going to face a court-martial tomorrow. If I did not cut it, tomorrow you would be watching hundreds of corpses of the elderly and infants being carried out of apartment buildings, and then you could go prepare your re-election concession speech. You reply calmly, your voice as cold as ice. I am the technical commander here, and I am solely responsible for the survival of the system. If you are dissatisfied with my decision, you can revoke my clearance at any time. Assuming, of course, you can find someone else who dares to press that button in under 60 seconds. You hang up the phone. A dead silence fills the command center. You know you have just made a tremendously powerful enemy in this position. You are beginning to understand that controlling the grid is not just about technical warfare. It is a game of power. From this underground bunker, using code and circuit breakers, you have forcibly intervened in the class, wealth, and political machinery of this nation. You are walking a tightrope, and beneath you is an endless abyss. Time flies, and your reign in the dark continues for 5 years. You become increasingly cold, more and more like a precision machine. You rarely sleep, surviving on espresso and nerve-stimulating prescription drugs to stay awake. Your brain has fused with the Watchman system. You can perceive every anomalous voltage spike, every illegal login attempt. You successfully fend off countless cyberattacks. There are hacker syndicates trying to extort power companies, corporate spies attempting to steal grid architectural schematics, and board script kiddies. To you, they are nothing but insignificant gnats. Until that winter. January. An unprecedented polar vortex sweeps across the entire North American continent. Temperatures plummet to -30 degrees, and blizzards leave physical transmission lines everywhere teetering on the brink. The grid is at its most vulnerable moment of the year. Right at this moment, the true nightmare descends. At 2 in the morning, your main screen suddenly flashes a blinding red light. Not a single node, but hundreds of critical substations across the entire East Coast detonate with high-risk alarms simultaneously. Status report. You shoot to your feet and rush to the main console. Sir, it is a zero-day exploit. Your deputy voice cracks with fear. They bypassed all our external firewalls and launched the attack directly from inside the industrial control systems. They are modifying the transformer cooling pump parameters. They are trying to destroy the hardware on a physical level. You instantly pull up the code logs. It is an attack pattern you have never seen before. It is wildly complex, possessing extreme self-evolution capabilities, like some kind of digital virus spreading frantically between the system neurons. These are no ordinary hackers. This is a state-level cyber warfare unit. You can even guess which hostile superpower is behind it. They have been lying in wait for a long time, waiting for the perfect moment, when the entire country is shivering in the bitter cold, heavily reliant on electricity for heating, to deliver the fatal blow. They are not just attacking the hardware. You hammer away at the keyboard, tracking the virus propagation paths, cold sweat soaking your shirt. They are manipulating our telemetry data. They want to blind us. The Watchman is receiving spoofed voltage readings. The data on the screen begins dancing wildly. 1 second it shows an overload, the next a blackout. You cannot confirm which substations are still functioning normally, and which have been reduced to a sea of fire. Sever all external connections. Initiate physical quarantine protocols. You roar. We cannot, sir. The virus is already in the backbone communication network. If we sever the connections now, the regions will lose synchronization, and the entire eastern grid will completely disintegrate within 5 minutes. You are facing the most terrifying dead end of your career. The enemy is like a rapidly spreading blood virus, and you cannot perform a full-body transfusion. Video feeds of the President and the National Security Advisor patch into the command center main screen. We need a situation report, right now. The president's face is grim. We are undergoing full-scale cyber warfare. You stare at the screen, fingers flying across the keyboard, attempting to build localized firewalls. The enemy is trying to destroy our physical infrastructure. If they succeed, the East Coast will experience blackouts lasting months. In these temperatures, the consequences will be devastating. Do you have a way to stop them? The National Security Advisor demands. You stop moving. You watch the constantly expanding red viral infection zone. It is closing in on several critical control nodes for nuclear power plant cooling systems. If hackers shut down the cooling systems, the reactors will suffer core meltdowns, a Chernobyl-level catastrophe. Your brain is running frantic simulations. Conventional antivirus and quarantine measures are too late. The virus spread outpaces your ability to patch vulnerabilities. There is only one way. A mad, cruel way, but there are no other options. Yes, you look up, staring directly at the commander-in-chief through the video feed. The only way is amputation. What are you talking about? The virus needs carriers and pathways to propagate through the network. To save the core backbone and the nuclear plants, I have to artificially create massive physical fault lines on the main trunks. I will proactively cut power to 5 states and completely blow the connection nodes to the infected areas, turning them into information islands. You could hear a pin drop in the command center. What does that mean? The president's voice trembles slightly. It means I will proactively plunge roughly 40 million people into total darkness and extreme cold. You calmly state this horrific fact. No electricity, no heat, no communication, in -30-degree weather. Hospital backup generators can hold out for 48 hours at most. Because of the blizzard, relief supplies will not arrive in time. You will kill hundreds, thousands of people, the National Security Advisor gasps. If I do not do this, the entire nation grid will be destroyed, taking 6 months or even a year to rebuild. Nuclear plants could melt down. Then it will not be hundreds dying, but hundreds of thousands, and civilization will collapse in a matter of days. Your icy voice echoes in the bunker. You slide this unimaginably heavy cross right in front of the highest power. A dead silence reigns over the video feed for half a minute. Execute your plan. God help us. The president closes his eyes and cuts the feed. You turn around, facing the main console. Your fingers tremble slightly, hovering over the keyboard. What you are about to press is a slaughter command. You know clearly that the moment you hit enter, countless people in their sleep will be stripped of warmth. Countless patients lying in intensive care units will face death. Countless despairs will spread through the darkness. You clench your jaw, tasting blood on the tip of your tongue. You punch in the command sequence. Execute Great Wall Protocol, initiating backbone sever. 3, 2, 1, execute. On the screen, 5 thick bands of light representing ultra-high voltage transmission lines snap instantly. Immediately after, a massive region stretching from upstate New York all the way to Virginia turns to a dead black, as if wiped away by an eraser. Piercing sirens echo through the command center. You have voluntarily destroyed the very thing you poured your blood and sweat into protecting. But it works. The red viral infection zone is tightly trapped within that dark island, unable to penetrate any further into the core network. Virus quarantined. Nuclear facilities are safe. Your deputy reports weakly, slumping into his chair and burying his face in his hands. But this is only the beginning. The next 72 hours are the longest, darkest time of your life. You do not leave your seat for a single step. Like a furious beast, you lead your team, charging into that dark island network. You engage in hand-to-hand combat, line by line of code, register by register, with the enemy hackers hiding deep within. Leveraging your absolute familiarity with the system architecture, you set traps, lure them into honeypots, and completely obliterate their control servers. You reverse engineer the virus payload, develop an antidote, and then, using extremely faint physical backup lines, restore control to the substations one by one. You drink countless cups of cold coffee. Your eyes are bloodshot from staring at the screen for so long, and your fingers tap the keyboard until they are nearly numb. Your mind is constantly haunted by images of the freezing lives out there in the ice and snow, frozen stiff without heat. It is a spiritual death by 1,000 cuts. You are saving them, but you are also the murderer who pushed them into the abyss. The morning of the 4th day, As the first ray of sunlight pierces through the blizzard and shines on the East Coast, you type the final line of recovery code. The black areas on the screen begin to light up one by one. Faint green dots reconnect into lines. Power is being restored. You won. You blocked a state-level war of cyber annihilation, and you saved this country's core infrastructure. A few days later, the news broadcasts wall-to-wall coverage of this rare, massive blackout caused by an extreme blizzard. Official reports blame the collapse of aging power lines due to severe weather. To cover up the truth of the cyber war, the government concocts a perfect lie. The news mentions the death toll. Due to the freezing cold, medical equipment failures, and traffic accidents, 342 people perished during the blackout. You sit in your office in the underground bunker, watching the news broadcast on the screen, expressionless. On your desk rests a special medal representing the nation's highest honor, just secretly awarded by the president. It sits in a velvet box, gleaming with a cold light. You reach out, close the box, and push it aside. 342 lives. You calculated it precisely. If you had not taken the amputation strategy in that extreme scenario, the predictive model estimated 750,000 deaths. From a mathematical and strategic standpoint, you made the most perfect high-stakes decision. You traded the minimal cost for maximum survival. But in the dead of night, you cannot numb yourself with mathematical models. You are a savior with blood on your hands. The door opens, and your deputy walks in, holding a new intelligence brief. Sir, the intelligence network in Europe sent word. The attack failed, but they have not given up. We have detected new probing activities. They are attempting a brand new quantum encrypted transmission channel. They are looking for new vulnerabilities we exposed this time. You take a deep breath and cast your gaze back to that colossal holographic screen, flickering with millions of dots of light. You cannot resign. You cannot escape. You cannot even confess your fear and guilt to anyone. You have become an inseparable part of this colossal machine. Down in this underground bunker, you wield the most formidable power in the world, yet you are also the world's most captive prisoner. Call all analysts back. Cancel all leave, you say coldly, placing your hands back on the keyboard. Upgrade the deep packet inspection algorithms. Increase the Watchman system sensitivity by 20%. Sir, that will cause a massive number of false positives. The team will break down. If they break down, swap in a new batch. There is not a trace of human emotion in your voice. This is war, and the war has only just begun. The dots of light on the screen pulse like a beating heart. Among them, a tiny, almost imperceptible red dot flickers for a split second on a distant northwestern node, then vanishes. You stare dead at that spot, your pupils contracting slightly. The ghost has returned.